of patience. Full moon rising in fiery Aries conjunct Taurus brings a cauldron of the hidden bubbling to the surface. High tide has been rising all week toward this full moon apex. Ground this swirling energy by rooting into Mother Earth. Pray to become an empowered vessel of patience. Speak your truth respectfully while harmonizing toward unity and peace for all. From Pat Liles. The full moon in Aries is exactly conjunct, joined, with Eris and also Uranus. That's a serious, eyebrow lifter for astrologers. We know Uranus can bring out the gifts of the rebel, the liberator, the awakener, the exile, each of these personas bringing a radical perspective because they value freedom and usually are precipitating it through unexpected and unsettling change. Aries is cutting new ground here. She, with the aid of Uranus, and in this moment, the full Aries moon, all at 22 to 23 degrees Aries, has been kicking up all the issues smacking of injustice, whether in inner cities, locker rooms, prison cells, banks, war-torn countries, wherever outrageous, socially unjust energies reside. Aries is the archetype of the feminine spiritual warrior, a warrior goddess. She gives a voice to feminine wildness, compelled to do the right thing for all living beings, and she doesn't care what gets left behind on the battlefield. Aries can access her fierce, ruthless strength to battle all the ugly manifestations of dominance, separation, and greed that can be created by the ego. This is not wanton destruction, but principled action out of deep necessity to wake up. So, I'm just saying, this is a big influence for this full moon. It's showing up in the news and it will show up in the charts of those with planets at 20 to 25 degrees cardinal signs, Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, and Libra. When Mars and Aries are strong as they are here, anger is not your best go-to emotion. Although anger has its righteous place, overreaction will not serve you. Keeping the peace or asserting yourself will be on the table. This supermoon has a lot to teach us. From April, Elliott, Kent. Anger is the emotion of last resort, which kicks in only when other warning signs have failed to get our attention. When someone crosses the line with you, a quick and assertive response is in order. We need to stand up for ourselves, and when fear, good manners, or pride keep us from doing so, anger is the natural result. These days, it seems that anger has moved from being the emotion of last resort to the first line of defense. There's plenty of righteous anger to go around, and also quite a bit of misguided wrath. The Aries full moon demands action and courage, not anger or blame. The most effective Aries people I've known are people of action. They are not saints, they have tempers, and don't always exercise the best judgment, but neither do they blame the world for their problems, or meekly accept their helplessness at the hands of fate. Even if it's something as simple as marching in a demonstration, writing a letter to the editor, volunteering for a charitable organization, cutting down on their gasoline consumption, they do something. And if they have a beef with you, they come right out and tell you instead of letting their resentment fester. The path to action is not so straightforward at this full moon, though. Mars, Aries' ruling planet, is moving toward a rendezvous with Pluto in Capricorn, with this volatile combination in a powerful T-square to the Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter in Libra, and the Moon and Uranus in Aries. It's no wonder the U.S. presidential election has devolved into an unholy mixture of pissiness and physical intimidation. But look deep beneath the surface of fear and frustration, and you may be able to locate Capricorn's voice of cool pragmatism. Go ahead and take action, Capricorn advises, but first, cool off and make a plan. Aries isn't partial to strategy. It's the part of us that prefers to shoot first and ask questions later. But while temper tantrums and name-calling may temporarily feel satisfying, this full moon's most effective warriors will be those who are disciplined and organized. Don't get angry, get effective. From Sara Varcas. This moon speaks of a need for brutal honesty, primarily with ourselves. She demands we view our life with dry eyes, not through tear-stained despair. She doesn't care how we got to where we are, who did what to whom, where we went wrong or were misled. Recrimination and blame have no place in her world. She simply wants us to see without emotion, where we are now and what we can do about it. If we love where we're at, fine. Capitalize on what's working to love it even more. If we don't, this moon offers challenging but sage advice about the effort needed to shift ourselves onto a different track. If we're looking for a sympathetic hearing and space to feel our feelings, we won't get it at this time. But if we want a cold, hard and perceptive appraisal of the unavoidable next step, we have a wonderful lunar guide. So listen closely, turn within, hear the voice of truth speak words you may have resisted before. Drop that resistance. Something is being said you really need to hear. Resolve to hear it, no matter how it feels. There is truth in this moon, razor sharp and precious as gold. From Divine Harmony. This full moon is nearly exactly conjunct Aries, and brings the Aries archetype front and center into our experience. Aries is definitely the goddess of discord and chaos, but when she uproots things or creates chaos, she does so because the facade has gotten toxic and it's time to really face and see what lies underneath. She actually brings harmony and balance by shining a light on the shadow. She releases anger and rage that has been stuck, stagnant and repressed for far too long, and could become even more toxic and explosive if not given an outlet now. Because the moon is involved, emotions can be high at this full moon and building up to it days or even a week beforehand. If you find yourself feeling angry, rageful, irritable, reactive or impulsive, know that Aries is stirring your pot, and navigate the fiery energies consciously so they are creative rather than destructive. On the flip side, if you find yourself feeling depressed, apathetic or disconnected, this full moon is asking you to get in touch with what you have repressed within. Communications, perception, thinking and speaking can be intense but also penetrating and revealing right now. With the ruling planet of this lunation, Mars approaching Pluto, exact 10:19, some very powerful energies are brewing that we really want to work with consciously. Mars-Pluto can help us align our lower egoic wills with our higher wills, so actions we take are masterful, full of integrity, personal accountability and maturity. Or Mars-Pluto can be a battle of wills, lower versus higher, with egos clashing, power and control dynamics erupting, with manipulation and even violence erupting. The Great Mother asteroid goddess Ceres is also involved in the full moon. Her position at 29 Aries puts her in conjunction with the moon at the karmic completion degree. The 29th degree of any sign has this energy. There can be big things up right now around home or family situations, safety and security, the environment and Mother Earth at large. Using this full moon to really feel all our emotions, especially the ones we tend to want to disassociate from, like anger, rage, grief and pain. The path to healing requires that we feel things all the way through without getting stuck in the emotions, but also not avoiding them entirely or shutting them down. We live in a society that reactively expresses or represses, not one in which healthy ways of dealing with emotions get muddled. We have to model this for ourselves. Particularly in the spiritual community, there often can be a judgment around negative emotions, as though one is not as evolved or awake if one feels anger or grief or attachment. Emotions are part of the human experience. We did not come down here to shut off our emotions and be disconnected from our humanity. We came here to be fully embodying and feeling it all, and wake up while in the fullness of our humanity. This full moon is wonderful for awakening and liberation from things we have been repressing, holding back, holding on to or disconnecting from, both emotions, people, things, attitudes and more. This lunation is particularly potent and intense. The very yang, fiery, aggressive energy of Aries is exacerbated by Uranus on the Moon as well as Mars in Capricorn, ruler of the full moon, approaching Pluto. There's just no getting around this astrology, so may as well call a spade rather than dress it up in a pink tutu and call it a unicorn, but we can work with these force field energies with consciousness. Uranus helps us to break free and revolutionize our lives. Mars helps us to take definitive action. Pluto helps us to confront shadow, purge what no longer is valid, transform and empower ourselves. We can embrace these energies at the time of this full moon if we so choose. Of course, the true test to mastery is when you can find and keep your center even when the rest of the world around you is losing theirs. A tall order and one to rise up to this month for sure. We are partners in the dance, one part of a greater whole. The key is to relate to others consciously and with deep integrity, deep respect, and deep honoring. The healing of the split within and without happens when we all do our part and treat each other as we would like to be treated, as we each make our journey home.
All of the writers and their websites featured in this article can be found down in the description box. Consider buying them a coffee, if you can.